Welcome to the first ever episode of Design Wars, where design tools and softwares go head to head to see who is the king of design. And today we have on one end Adobe Xd, and on the other end we have the Sketch app. The rules of Design Wars are super simple. Be better and faster than the other software and win. Okay, wait, before we start, quickly go in the comments and tell me who will win before even knowing who will win. So go ahead and do that, and let's see who really wins this challenge. So today we are making this super simple task creation or list creation application, which I have designed, and this is a design which will be live on my Behance. We will be designing, on one end we'll be designing on Adobe Xd on the left, and on the right we'll be designing on Sketch. So both have similar features. Now both have plugin support as well. So let's see how they do in this competition. So first of all, let's create artboards in both of these. So first in Adobe Xd, on the left we have this artboard feature. We can select amongst all of these options. There are so many options. I like that this has a lot of options, so I can just choose from whatever option of size of screen I want. So I'll just select iPhone 6 and that's about it. Okay, I've created like 3 now. And in Sketch as well, if we go ahead and go to Insert and we go down to Artboard, there's a shortcut for this as well. If I go to Artboard, I can select from all these devices. The good part about Sketch is that it has more support for devices. So you even have Android devices like Pixel, Pixel 2 XL, Nexus, things like that. For this round, Sketch takes it away with 1 whole point, and Adobe Xd will only get 0.5 points. So 0.5 points for Adobe Xd and 1 point for Sketch. Okay, so we will be giving a quick gradient to this artboard. If we go here, you can see there's an appearance tab, and inside this we can say linear gradient, and we can quickly and easily create the gradient that we want. So we'll just pick from these colors which are here, and we'll just replicate the gradient which is in this image. And I'll just flip this over. I'll just restructure this real quick, and you can see how simple and easy it is to create a basic gradient and even complex gradients, radial gradients, whatever you want. And if we go over to Sketch, you can see that if I click on iPhone 8, this is the artboard, and I say a background color, you can give a background color or you can leave it transparent. That's up to you. And here in the color picker, we can choose the colors that we want. Okay, so unfortunately in Sketch, if we want to use a sort of a gradient, we just cannot. And that's a huge disadvantage. We can use a single color. And so I'm just gonna pick one single color from this artboard. So just something very neutral, something like this, or maybe something real light like this. And unfortunately, you cannot set the background color to a gradient, be it radial or linear. And for that, Sketch gets 0 points. I'm sorry. And Adobe Xd gets a full whole point for this round. Okay, for the next task, we will be creating this list. Now this list is super simple, and it just requires, say, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements. So go ahead and we'll go ahead and create this list real quick. In Adobe Xd, we'll just create a quick rectangle from the rectangle tool right here. Make sure it's not too tall, and perfect. And we'll just quickly center it. As you can see, there are centering tools here, and remove the border. And we want this to be about 50% in opacity. See, the opacity here itself is also low, so closer to 50. And the border radius we want as about, say, 12. Let's try 12. And that fits about perfectly to this requirement right here. And it seems very similar as well. And to repeat this, now we're gonna add some text right here. If I say T, I can just add some text, and I'll say bring milk for the house. And I'm just gonna quickly type that out, and I'm just gonna make this a white text, and I'm gonna place this right above here. Again, we're not trying to replicate the entire design exactly. Let me make this 40% in opacity. We're not trying to make this design, replicate this design exactly, but whatever we feel we should do, I think we should do it. Okay, so that is a basic card. What we're gonna do is we're gonna group this entire card or this list item, and we're gonna say repeat grid. Repeat grid is really useful in Adobe XD. You can just repeat these items as many times you want, horizontally or vertically. We're just gonna do it vertically and make sure that this overflows, and there is a difference between 10 pixels between each of these. Perfect. And you can just change everything, and once you've done editing everything, you can say ungroup grid, and you can just individually change or edit these things as well. So you can just say bring cheese. I don't know, I like dairy, what can I do? For some of these at the bottom, we'll just reduce the opacity even more, and just to give it that gradient kind of feel. Perfect. And if you go over to Sketch, we can do the same thing. For this, what I'm going to do is going to say R and just create a basic rectangle. As you can see, I have a rectangle created here, and I will remove the border and give it again white fill, and reduce the opacity to about 30%. Perfect. And I'm gonna increase the border radius to, I think I set it to 12 there. Yeah, perfect. And I'm gonna write some text over this as well. I'm gonna use the same shortcut, which is T. I'm just gonna add, what should I say? Yeah, bring some milk. Again, really basic, really simple. And the font here is not right. Let me just change the font to something basic like Acumen Pro, and I'll just make this a white text, and make sure this is a regular font, the same that we have used, and just increase the font size from 14 to about 24. That's something similar to what we were using in that other design as well. So I'll just fit this in the center right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group both of these and replicate it a similar way in Sketch. There is a quick trick. If you hold Option and if you copy this over, so if I say 10 pixels from the top, and if I then click on Command D, it'll duplicate right below it. So it's like a workaround for something similar to what we were using in Adobe XD. Since it is not that efficient and there are a lot of bugs, this is not like a foolproof kind of method. I'm gonna give Adobe XD a 4 point for this one and 0.5 points for Sketch. Trust me, I'm not being biased. It's something that is there. Okay, so for the next task, we will be putting the image at the top. So in Adobe XD, what you can do is quickly go ahead and create a rectangle for the kind of space that you need here. And that's perfect. Remove the border. And what we can do is we can quickly, I've downloaded this image already, and I'm just gonna put it over this, and it'll just automatically fill in this space. And that's pretty good, that's pretty neat. This image has been picked up from Unsplash, so kudos to Unsplash for these high quality images. I will be linking Unsplash down in the description. And just create a basic box shadow as well. And that's about it. Now in Sketch, if we come back, if I create a rectangle and I want to fill that space with that same image, unfortunately you can't drop inside this area and then expect it to just fill it in. However, you have a quick workaround. It's nothing complicated. It's something which I like a lot. And if you go inside fill, and there'll be this image icon. If you click here, you can just drag and drop any image that you want, or you can just pick from all these options of these patterns and things like that. So I'm just going to quickly drop this image, and it's just going to drop it inside the same way that you do in Adobe XD. So it's their power to power. This is just slightly longer. And the good thing about Sketch is you can actually use this to either fit the image or stretch the image, or tile the image, whatever you feel is correct. And you can change the size of the tile. You can make it repeat a million times, whatever you like. Here I'm just going to use fill image. And also the good thing about this is that I can have multiple fills inside this. So if I can change everything from here as well. And as you can see, this image is right here. I can just drag and drop, and I can choose whatever image and things like that. And I can add this image to my prefix as well. So Sketch has a lot of other things that you can do with an image right here. And that is pretty neat. So I'm going to give, for this round, I'm going to give 0.25 points extra to Sketch. So 1.25 points for Sketch and 1 whole point for Adobe XD for fulfilling this task. Now the next thing that we're going to do is try to edit this image a little bit. Now in this case, in Adobe XD, the maximum we can do is go either use a plugin. There are a couple of plugins which can help to change the look of an image and things like that. But here we can't really do much. What we can do is change the fill, but the image will then go. So that's a disadvantage of Adobe XD, that I'll have to probably add something over this. If I don't want to use a plugin, I maybe add a rectangle over this, and then go ahead and kind of make this a black or whatever color I'm looking out for, and reduce the opacity to make it slightly darker. Now that's a little lengthy, and for that Adobe XD doesn't take the trophy here. Let's go back to Sketch. Now in Sketch we have a pretty few neat and clean tricks, again, which we can't do with image fills. Now that's something that again is an advantage for both. Like disadvantage for both is that once we fill an item or a element with an image just like this, we can add another fill. Now that is a really cool little trick that we can have in this particular software that we don't. And see how I can just edit the image right from here. In Adobe XD, you can't add multiple properties to the same element. And I think Sketch takes the trophy there. So 0.5 points for Adobe XD and 1 whole point for Sketch. Ouch. Okay. Now I see why Sketch is slightly ahead of Adobe XD, even if Adobe XD is really updated. Hopefully the May update, there'll be an update coming this month, which will be a huge update with shapes and other features. Hopefully that should fix a lot of these problems. So the next task that we will be doing is to put an icon above this image for a back button, because back buttons are really important. So it can be just black or it could be white. If I go to plugins, there's so many plugins that I can use. For this one, I'm going to quickly search for a plugin, and also we'll see which plugin library or plugin adder is better. Now here there's so many options. I'm just going to say icon, and hopefully I should get an option right here. So there are so many options. Okay, so in Adobe XD we have a plugin which I use. Is called Icon Drop, and you can just drag and drop icons, and you can search for what kind of properties that icon should have. And you can select colored outline, doodle, dual tone, sticker, isometric, gradient, glyph, whatever you want. And you can choose between icons, illustrations, and photos. A lot of options that we can choose from. It's pretty cool. And also, if I say back, it should bring me a plethora of icons that will allow me to go back, just like this one. And and I can even select colored outline, something that I really like. And it could be this blue that we have. So go ahead and insert this. It's going to download it, and it's going to insert it right here. So what I'm going to do is just make this much smaller, this icon, and make sure it's placed right above this image somewhere here. Perfect. That's pretty good. And you can't edit this because this is an SVG, and there are very few other icon tools right now. If I go over to Sketch and search for plugins, if I go over to Sketch and go to plugins and say manage plugins, there are only these plugins that we have. And if I say get plugins, it'll take me to this website. This process is slightly longer of adding plugins. I mean, Sketch has advanced so much and it's been used by so many people. I think there should be something by default to check out this library. So I'm going to check out for icons. So Inker 8, and I have Iconify. So I have icon drop here as well, just like in Adobe XD. So I'm just going to add this. I'm just going to go to this page. Now this will take me to another page. This is a hell of a lot of problems and a lot of options that I have to choose from. And I have to, the good thing about it is it runs with Sketch Runner as well, but I'm just going to download the installation right here. It's a manual installation. Once it downloads, you can go ahead into the downloads and okay, so once it is downloaded, you can go ahead and open this folder, and as you can see, there are so many options. First of all, if somebody is new, he doesn't really realize what he has to use. I know this is the icon for the installation, so I'm just going to double click and it installs instantly. If I go back to this, if I go back to Sketch and I say plugins and go to icon drop, it'll open a small window. I like this feature that it opens an extra window right here, which I can use inside Sketch. It'll take a couple of seconds to load, and once it loads, you can search for, again, the back button I'm going to search for, and hopefully it'll instantly search for it. And again, I can select the style just the same as Adobe XD. So all these things are the same. I can even select the color that I want these icons in. So if I want, say, white, do I write white or just say FFF? And so if I go here, there should be white icons, even though they're not. I just select blue and just add the filter. And if I go to icons, there's this basic icon. This is given. Again, the blue color is something that, you know, it's the color thing is not really very good, again, but it does work. So there's an extra point for Sketch. It saves Sketch a little bit, but again, it's not really good. So I'm just gonna, what do? I'll just click on this. It'll download it for me, and I'll exit this icon drop and go back here. So just as the same way as Adobe XD just drops it right here. So I'm just gonna place this random blue looking icon right here. Now, as you can see, we've gotten someplace, but Adobe XD has won this round. Adobe XD gets a whole point, and I'm sorry, Sketch, you get 0.5 points for that because it works. But first of all, installing that plugin is really long. The process is really long. And also when you add things, there are some bugs. It doesn't load up as fast as it loads up in Adobe XD. And also the color thing is more of a gimmick. The color picker is more of a gimmick. It doesn't work that well. So again, there's a long process of adding this. If I have to add it in Adobe XD, it's a store inside the Adobe XD application. So if I go back to Adobe XD, I want to add a custom switch. And this switch, I want it to be the iOS switch. First of all, I'll just bring this list down a little bit, and I want to add a switch right here. So to add a switch, I want to go to the iOS library. So in this, if I go here to the files and say get, I'll have to say get UI kit, and I want to say Apple iOS. Now, again, a disadvantage in Adobe XD here is that all these wireframes and UI kits don't come pre-installed. So you have to install it. And again, that's something similar to a Sketch, but Sketch comes with pre-installed iOS. So I give kudos to Sketch for that. And if I go back and if I open this, it opens up as a DMG, and I'll say agree. Okay, that rhymed low key. Now, it quickly installs, that's pretty good. But then I can choose between all these resources. It's kind of confusing. and then I open one of these, and you know, it opens up and it takes a lot of time. Okay, so XD is kind of lacking there because I can't just pick anything, any element from there. There can be plugins, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for what is built in. And here there's so many freaking options. I'm lost. I don't even remember where switches are or where any toggles are, but I'm assuming it'll be in one of these screens. But I gotta look for it in this. Now I really honestly can't find it. Oh, here you go. Finally, I found the right element. If I copy this over, I have to minimize this, go back here. And the good thing about this is if I make any changes to the UI kit, it'll get changed here, but that's not what we're looking for. And if I say unlinked symbol, I can just place it right here. So this is something that we've placed right here in Adobe XD. If we go back to Sketch, as you can see in Sketch, if I go to insert, I can just insert things from the iOS UI design kit, and I can add other kits as well. This doesn't have to be just iOS UI design, and you can add individual elements. So if I want to add, say, miscellaneous, and go to elements, so right here, if I go to cell accessory, and inside accessory, if I go to this switch off, I can just add this right here, and it's that instantaneous, it's that quick. And these are all the latest icons. You can just fit it right wherever you want, and you can edit any of these and unlink from the library and just edit any of these separately as well. And that's pretty cool. So one whole point for Sketch, once again, and Adobe XD gets 0.5 points, unfortunately, for this round. So the next round, since we've designed quite a bit of this, I mean, it's not great, but it's there. This is a place where it's gonna win hands down anytime. So if I'm gonna quickly prototype two screens right here, and both of these do a great job at prototyping. They're really simple, and in one of these artboards I'll just delete everything here, and here as well I'll just delete everything. And if I go to prototype, I can quickly prototype and just bring this right here in Adobe XD. I can say transition. I'm just going to stick with transition. Auto animate is something that Adobe XD will win over Sketch any day. That's something built in, but I'm just going to say slide left, just like that, and preserve scroll position. So that's pretty easy. If I preview this, I can just click anywhere and it'll just slide in like that. In Sketch as well, we have something very similar. And here, if I click on this, okay, here we don't really have any dedicated prototyping window or toolbar where I can just switch between prototype mode and design mode. That's pretty disappointing. However, if we click anywhere here, and there's an option of prototyping here, and I can just bring from one element to the other right here. So I can say target is this and slide from left. As you can see, there are directions here. I like this UI of this Sketch here, the prototype UI. And if I go here and I say preview, I should be able to preview this right here. And if I click on this image, it should slide left. Similar to Adobe XD right here, but Adobe XD, it's much simpler, it's much quicker, and I can use it on the entire artboard as well. And I can have so many other options right here in just one tap. And Sketch is kind of lousy with that, and it has limited animation features as well built in. So just for that reason, I will give Adobe XD the win here. So 1 full point for Adobe XD and 0.5 points for Sketch for this round. And now the last out of all of these is whether there is good plugin support to export it as HTML and CSS code. Now I think I know where Sketch will really take the lead here is with the plugins. But if I go to the plugins, I say web export right here, and I say export artboard, and I can select so many options and export this as proper HTML and CSS. So many options right here. So this is a full-fledged export for web where I can have all these options. However, in Sketch, there is an advantage. Now, if I come back to Sketch, Sketch also has a plethora of plugins. If I go back to the Sketch library and I say, there's so many options. There is something called Anima as well, which is a paid kind of a plugin, but you can use it, it's for free. And there's so many other options. If I just search for web, the Sketch to web, and there's the Copy, which is the copy editing tool for web and product design, and Webalize. You know, there's so many options for exporting web assets, and even for exporting iOS, Android, and Windows assets. Same thing with Adobe XD, but Anima is there, and there's more support for that. So for this, I'll give about 1 point for whole point for Adobe XD for being able to do that easy, and 1.25 points for Sketch, because you know it has so many more plugin options right here, so it takes the cake right there. So as you can see, you know who is the winner. So congratulations for winning the showdown. And if this video touches 100 likes, I will make another version of this, maybe with Figma and InVision and all those other cool design tools that you guys might want to see. So go ahead and like this video. If we get this video to 100 likes, I'm going to do a part 2 of this series, and I'll continue this series if you guys like.